Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Welcome to Hong Kong Confidential. I'm Jules Hannaford and I'm your host. I'm an Australian woman and I've been living in Hong Kong for many years. I'm a mother, a teacher, an author, and I want to share my wisdom and the wisdom of others with you. Thanks for joining me and I hope you enjoy the show.
You meet someone online and there's this instant connection. It's amazing how much the two of you just seem to click. They live somewhere far away and there's some plausible reason they can't travel to meet you. They tell you they're in love with you and you feel optimistic for the first time in a long time. They have a successful career, yet somehow they need money from you to solve a short-term problem, always with the promise of paying you back. Time goes on and they need more money more urgently. You've started to see the cracks and begin to wonder whether they've been lying this whole time. All of a sudden it hits you. You've been scammed. Fool Me Twice is the story of my mother, Jules Hannaford, a woman who was drawn into the dangerous world of sweetheart scams. After a trip overseas to meet a stranger, a dangerous altercation in a Manchester hotel room, and thousands of pounds lost for good, she's here to tell her story. Fool Me Twice, a true crime podcast, is available on Apple Podcasts, Ozcast Network, and anywhere you listen to your podcasts.
Today I'm here with Dino Hira. Hi Dino, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey Jules, lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me on Hong Kong Confidential.
It's so exciting to have you here. I feel like you're an old friend because I watched your whole season of MAFS in 2019 in Australia. So it's very weird to be meeting you for the first time, but feeling like I know you. It's quite surreal.
Brilliant. Yeah.
It's really cool. Tell me a little bit about your background and your childhood.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Hong Kong and I went to primary school, high school here. And then at the age of 16, when I finished high school, I thought, I want to move somewhere else and I want to explore this world. I've always loved traveling, but never traveled exclusively or alone. So my dad's like, okay, so we'll send you to university elsewhere. And where would you want to go? I just said, let's go to Hawaii or let's just looking at the thing of beaches. I was thinking of sun, sand, and somewhere just to go and enjoy myself. And my dad's like, you're dreaming.
Nice try, kid.
Yeah, nice try. It's like, the castle, the movie where he says, you're dreaming. He points at Perth. And I'd never heard of Perth before in Western Australia. And he said, this is probably the most serene, more quiet place. And it's a perfect place for you to study and get the most you can out of your university education because I'm paying for it. So better make the most of it. I was just like, oh man, where is Perth? And I remember my sister came to drop me off. And as soon as I was looking at Perth over from my window. I was thinking, where are the buildings? I'm so used to like Hong Kong, the skyscrapers. I'm like, where are the buildings? This is nothing. But after 20 years of being in Perth, I must say I love everything about it. The people, the culture, and it just grows in you. And I think when you know that a place is really great for your soul, why leave? And, you just want to call it home. And I thought I met such amazing people there. I could see myself living there.
And then what brings you back to Hong Kong now?
Now my family's always been here. So when I was in Perth, I was alone, had no family support. My mom and dad, they're not growing any younger. So I thought, let me just spend a bit of time there. I've just launched a wellness business as well. And I thought, when you've got a passion and purpose, the world has no boundaries. It'll open up doors in many ways. And I thought, wow, Hong Kong is definitely a place where I'd want to go and explore because lifestyle is so busy in Hong Kong that I thought this is probably the perfect place to practice my purpose, which is to spread meditation, mindfulness, and inner peace in many ways.
Exactly. There's so much need for well-being, meditation, mindfulness, yoga, all of that here in Hong Kong because, as you say, everybody's so busy and people get quite stressed. And also there's quite a bit of disposable income in Hong Kong as well. So it's quite a nice place to launch a business because I think you'll get a lot of interest. And I think also it's pretty handy that you had that experience on Married at First Sight as well. It gives you a bit of a following and a profile. Have you found that that's helped you with launching of your business even on a global scale, just not in Hong Kong?
To be honest, yes. I couldn't have asked for probably a better way of advertising in a way, because I thought, oh, I'll go onto this reality show. And the way it just happened was, what is happening? Like, I had no idea what was, it just happened way too fast. And I was like, wow. So after the show, I was portrayed as more like the spiritual guy.
Yeah, you
the
were
guy
very
that
much.
was,
Yeah,
the
the
guy that
hippie.
was
Yeah.
all up there. And, living with the fairies. But hey, I've used it in my real life, and I've found such good benefit. Comes from a deep place. And I thought, wow, after the show, it not only played in Australia, but it went to Belgium, it went to Portugal
Oh,
as
I didn't
well.
know that.
Yeah, so I had messages from people who watched it in Belgium and Portugal and hit me up, and they were like, "Oh, I loved watching you on the show. Where do you teach your meditation?" And even from New Zealand as well. So I was like, "Wow!" I took that as an opportunity, and I said, "Wow, if I don't take advantage of this, I would never get that exposure." So I thought, let me launch the Modern Yogi Co. So when they asked, "Oh, where do you teach at the moment?" Because after Married at First Sight, after we filmed, I had another opportunity open up. The first one, which was in prison, in drug and alcohol rehab centers as well. So it was Casuarina, this maximum security prison
Oh, I
where,
know it.
yeah, so I applied for it before I went on the show, and it takes a really heavily screened process for you to be able to teach there, to interact with the prisoners. So I thought, yeah, this is my purpose. I want to try and go out. So I went there as a volunteer. So I didn't hear back for a month. So I was busy in filming MAFS. And the very next day after I finished filming, I had a call from the chaplain saying, "Hey, your application papers have been approved. We'd love to have you here to teach the prisoners." And so I'm like, wow, from one extreme of being like on a multi-million dollar of set of production, then I'm in prison.
I
So
know.
it's like,
It sounds amazing.
yeah.
I would love to do both of those things. I'm quite jealous.
Yeah.
What was it like working with the prisoners? What did you do in the prison?
It was a gift, really, because when I first went there to my inductions and
Were you scared?
yeah, well, here's the thing. Like, I was watching this documentary on Netflix, and it was on Casuarina, a maximum security prison. It's like how the prisoners are portrayed or what they actually go through in there. And I'm speaking of quite extreme cases of pedophiles, murderers, and they've done really, really harsh crimes. But I didn't go in there in fear. I went there for like a purpose. So I went there to actually try and see if I do have that gift of teaching meditation. I've always wanted to start at the extremes and then go to wherever it takes me. To be honest, when I walked in there, there were some of the most down to earth souls. And I say with great appreciation for them, because I know they've committed crimes, but then they're paying for it in prison. And that's what they're there for. But I think at the end of the day, they're all human beings as well. You can't label them as being prisoners for life. It's not their life sentence. It's something that they've done. They repent for it. And then now they're seeking ways that they can divert their attention into something more meaningful or something more purposeful for them. That was my intention, is just being a messenger to help them seek that inner peace within them as well.
Isn't that wonderful? And in prisons, I think more so in Australia than the US, they're starting to run programs that will help them redeem themselves, help them grow, help them educate, help them develop skills that they can come out with in the outside world when they finish their sentences. And what you're doing is for their health and well-being and their mental health. So kudos to the Australian prison system that they're doing that. But it's great that
Yeah.
you had the opportunity, isn't it?
Oh yeah, really, really thankful. And within a month of doing it, I think we had a close bond, because I had probably 4 people in my first lesson, first class. I said, okay, it went well. Then I had 8, and then I had 16. And I was like, oh, the chaplain's like, what's the limit? Like, what have you said? I was like, I don't know. I didn't expect it to go this much.
That's
So you could
so
find that
cool.
the effectiveness was very effective. And it also lowered the reoccurrence rates for those prisoners that actually enrolled in the sessions.
Wow,
So
that's
it
amazing.
was really, really amazing. I mean, my first lesson, coming back to your question of whether I was scared, yeah, I did have like one eye opened and one eye closed while I was meditating as well. But because I'm like surrounded with these like people, and we were given a button, so this clicker that if anything goes wrong, you click it, and there'll be like 10 guards at once that come in and try and sort everything out. But I didn't have to use the clicker once, and I didn't feel that way. And being young in there as well, and they also appreciate that it's coming from like a youthful presence, because they were used to getting monks in there, and but they were very systematic in a way. No disrespect to anyone that teaches
Yeah,
or
of
the way,
course,
but
of course.
I sort of tailor mine to who the crowd is. Like, what are they looking for? Because there's not one size doesn't fit all. So I feel, yeah, this would be good. So the prisoners were just looking for ways to improve their breath work. They were looking at ways to imagine or visualize. And being in prison, when you're visualizing, it's still very powerful because it gives you that peace of mind.
What a great concept, because you can get
Exactly.
out and go down the river and go
Exactly.
to the beach in your mind, which gives
Yeah,
you a bit of freedom that you don't have if you're caged in.
definitely.
I didn't
Definitely.
even think of that. That's brilliant. It would be remiss of me not to ask you about your time on Married at First Sight, because I'm sure all my listeners really want to know. I think I want to know a lot. We'll go back to
For
what you
sure.
do as well, but I really want to know, what was it like? How did it impact you? How did it change you?
Yeah, so I was working as a mine controller, so in the mining industry with FIFO fly in, fly out. So I was there for 10 years. I remember like there was one night shift. I hope my work doesn't listen to this, but it was
My
like,
audience is
well,
mostly Hong
my
Kong. You'll be
ex-work
right. Oh,
anyway.
actually, hang on. That's until you promote it. Then it's going to
That's
go
right.
wider.
Yeah. So
Result.
I was really bored one night shift, and I was like, everything's under control. And my job was to the whole gameplay, moving pretty much from one place to the other. And it's us coordinating the whole gameplay. So talking to a lot of people, coordinating that. And yeah, so I was just really bored one night shift. And I was like, oh, then I saw this ad come up, this banner, Married at First Sight, apply now. I was like, okay, I'm the black sheep of the family. And I thought, like, yeah, let's just explore. Who knows what could come out of it? I may
Were you
find
there for
love.
the right reasons?
Well, I was at the start. No, I was like totally, because I mean, 35, single. There's no reason not to believe that love can happen in any way.
And it's something that we all want. It really can just complete you. I know that
That's
sounds
right.
so like cheesy, but for many people, it's like the one little thing that's missing, because as human beings, we are designed to have relationships and companionship and intimacy. Anyway, I'll shut up now. You go on.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm learning
quick.
as well.
Back to the reality TV, please.
Okay. So,
by the way, can I just confess I'm an absolute reality TV addict? I watch everything.
Amazing. Amazing.
So anyway, go on.
Great. Well, yeah, so I applied, and it was like a thorough application process, because I was like, oh man, this is like 47 pages online, and you're filling out everything to do with your childhood up until what your characteristics are, your values, and what your values are in a partner as well. So I thought, wow, this is quite intense. So I left it halfway. I thought, no, this is way too intense. And then the following
shift's
week,
over. I can't do
exactly.
it.
I better focus on mine. So what happened the following week? This casting assistant just messaged randomly, and I was just like, hey, have you applied for Married at Is Facebook Messenger? And she's like, oh, have you applied for Married at First Sight? I believe you'd be really good on the show, and we could find you a perfect match. And I thought, wow, okay, well, this must be a sign. Like, why is she coming with me? So I said, okay, well, I'm like, I'm not going to fill out the 47 pages of everything. And she's like, okay, well, here's this one page, and just fill it out, and yeah, we'll put you in the draw. So I'm like, okay. And then she said there was 8,000 to 10,000 people that applied from all over Australia. And this was
Wow.
season 6. So season 7 became even bigger. So I think I heard like 20,000 or something applied. So I said, wow, 8 to 10,000 people. All right. And so I put in the application, and I thought, this is an opportunity to see if my visualization actually works, and to see if what I preach actually really works
See
for
if
me.
you can manifest your love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that was a
Epic
mistake.
fail.
Well, that was a mistake. So I visualized everything to do with the wedding taking place, but I didn't visualize the bride to
Okay,
be.
well, she'd be nice. I mean, she was really nice, your bride, but
was,
she was
yes.
just not in your wheelhouse at
No,
all.
we
You
were
didn't
just-
share any of the same values or interests and things like that. So
Yeah,
it was
that was
really,
prime time entertainment.
yeah, it was really clear to me then,
Yeah.
watching exactly that. They deliberately set you up with a mismatch to try to create the drama. They're not really wanting you to find love, are they?
No. Well, in some ways, that's a challenge. So to see if you would gel well with the other person, seeing that she's not even your cup of tea, would you interact and then open yourself to that vulnerability as well?
And you tried, didn't you?
Yes. So you had to. I think in that environment, you're living with the person. It is just like a marriage life. Well, an arranged marriage. Probably gone bad, but yeah, in this case was an arranged marriage that a lot of cultures have got to go through as well. Like being an Indian background, like that's quite rampant in my culture, where you are arranged in some ways, and then to see if you can make it work. And all credit, sometimes it does work. My
I know a
parents,
lot of people arranged that were very happy. Yeah,
yeah,
parents at my school. Yeah.
my parents almost 50 years, the Jubilee, so and they were arranged marriage as well. And I thought, wow, I could learn from this. I could really. Yeah, but
Yeah, whoops.
didn't I learned, but I didn't practice it well, I guess. But,
And did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Was it stressful? Were the dinner parties when you're all fighting, were they a nightmare, or did
Oh,
you find it funny, or what?
all sorts. There was all sorts of emotions running through in that dinner party, and I learned to have fun with it and just go with. I know it wasn't that fun like the last dinner party we had, where I was just getting yelled at and so forth. But then that's when my meditation came in, and that's when my ability to resolve conflict through staying calm and present in the moment just practiced really, really well.
You
So I thought,
did, yeah. I mean,
So
I definitely thought like you were such a decent, calm guy because of the way you coped. Yeah,
thank
it was
you.
really
All
good.
thanks to my mindfulness
Yeah,
meditations.
I know. It's a lesson for anyone out there who doesn't do well under stress or loses their temper under stress, that if you do these mindfulness practices, you can learn new coping strategies, which is really good.
Definitely. Not just in concentration, but also, conflict resolution, everything like from your work life to love to relationships, and more importantly, like self-love and self-care. So that's where I believe it really, really helps me in maintaining that.
So when you came out of the whole thing, did you regret doing it, or are you glad you did it? And what did you learn about yourself?
I'm always glad, but whatever happens, I've trained myself to look at the good and everything. And I think like when something really bad happens, it's really easy to blame, and it's really easy. I've seen that. And even with this Married at First Sight, like after I did it, I wouldn't have had probably the opportunities that I've been given today without the show. And I've had so many people, I've done numerous online sessions, podcast being here as well.
Yeah.
So,
When you message me, I'm like, it's me mate, Dino. Dino. Okay,
and it feels like that. Like we've known each other for a long, long time. And
since 2019, I've known you.
Yeah.
But it's like, brilliant.
Yeah. So I can't thank them enough. If you ask me if I'd do it again, maybe, who knows? Like I would always be open to opportunities.
But I think you were very lucky. I mean, obviously you're such a decent person and you managed the whole thing well. They couldn't portray you in a bad light. You didn't give them any fodder to actually turn around and make you look like a twat.
Yeah.
But you'd have to be certain that you were lucky. Most people come out of that show. I can't think of too many that come out of it looking positively. You are one of very few. Most of them come out of it looking like unfaithful, drunk, emotional nutcases. And I understand that that's not necessarily what they're like, and that that's the way that the producers and the editors have put it all together.
Yes.
But you're very lucky the way you come out of it. Did you get trolled or bullied or anything?
Yeah, I think we all did. We all went through trolls. It's how you react to them. And I feel like, there were trolls online and stuff. But then when you actually interact with them and say, hey, look, like this is me. And they've got to remember that they're looking at a 2-minute edited version of us. Whereas we're filmed 12 hours a day, 15 hours sometimes. It's how you react to those. But then when you interact with these trolls, they love it. They're like, oh, thank you so much for replying.
Me too. I've had some criticisms of my show.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, I've only had one of Hong Kong Confidential, one criticism in 140 shows.
And what was that?
I talked to a friend who couldn't have a baby, but she was an old friend of mine. And I asked her how it felt not to be able to get pregnant. But I knew her for 20 years. I knew I could ask her this question. But somebody wrote to me, how dare you ask that question? That can be really triggering, blah, blah, blah. And I wrote back, thank you so much for contacting me. I really appreciate your feedback. Just to give you some context, I'm old friends with this girl, and she was very happy to answer that question. And it's something that many people go through. And he wrote back, oh, I'm from Canada. Because I said she's from Canada. He's like, oh, I'm from Canada as well. Thank you so much. And then he was my mate. So it was a real lesson to me. To any negativity, just deal with it with positivity. And I normally say thank you so much, even if they're being really mean. Because you can turn stuff around. It's really amazing.
Yes, you can. And it's funny because there were a couple of trolls that just kept trolling, and they're like, how dare you recorded Melissa and blah, blah. And there was all this, there was a part where a bit of controversy and between me and Melissa. And
yes, I remember you recorded her.
Some people got the intentions behind it, but some people got it, in the wrong way. And interacting with these trolls, they are my biggest clients now as well.
Isn't that hilarious? That's a lesson.
So 3 of them that were completely...
So that old adage of keep your friends close and your enemies closser, it works.
Purely in practice.
Brilliant. Oh, that's so fantastic.
Yeah.
Have you changed from doing that as a person?
I think I've become even more driven, even more encouraged to follow this passion, because it was really well received. And when you try and teach meditation, it's nothing to do with religion. It's more to do with spirituality. It's more to do with oneself and getting to know yourself better, even especially in this time during coronavirus. And so when people, can't go out, they can't socialize, It's like you're spending time with yourself. Are you comfortable in doing that? Are you actually getting the most out of it? Are you being creative? It's more about meditation is just a journey within yourself to find the answers, because sometimes you can't find them through Google or anywhere in the outside world. So you've got to rely on that inner instinct or intuition to help you.
Absolutely. How did you first get into meditation?
I learned it as a kid here in Hong Kong. So my parents would send me to this classes called Bible class every Friday, and there was more to do with reciting mantras, and we did meditation there as well, which was really great. When I was a teenager, all that went out the window. It was just like, yeah, I'm a teenager. I'm too cool for this, and I'm a cool man in school. Can't be sitting there being seen meditating and going,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. So yeah, in 2014, I went through a struggle phase, depression, contemplating everything, contemplating taking the next breath. It was like after a heartbreak of going through a breakdown in a relationship. And I thought, heartbreaks are your biggest lessons. They're your biggest strengths as well, because they actually give you a lot of courage and strength. If you can use that disappointment to actually shed light on others, I feel it comes from a place of purpose and meaning as well, and love as well. So love for yourself. So that heartbreak. So I thought I just slept on it, slept on all these negative emotions and depression. And then I was really against taking antidepressants, because I was like, oh, if I'm going to be relying on antidepressants, I'm not going to be really well. I'm not a man to take like tablets to make myself feel better. I'm always looking for holistic or natural ways. And yes, I slept on that, but no disrespect to whoever does. It's just
it can work for some people. Absolutely.
Yeah, do what floats your boat,
Of
really.
course.
So one night I had this really, really deep, meaningful dream, and it was of Lord Shiva meditating on the Himalayan mountains. My parents are religious, but I was never really that religious or spiritual before. And after this dream, just everything changed. And I thought, wow, I woke up in tears, and I thought, what is the message behind this dream? And then a week later, I was reading a book in Fremantle, this place in Perth. Such a serene place, such a great atmosphere on Sundays. So I was reading a book in like this park, and this man walks up to me and says, "Are you spiritual by any chance?" So I said, "No," and I thought he was a gypsy at first. I thought, "Oh man," I was like holding I was holding my wallet, and I was waiting for this pendulum to come out and start like hypnotizing. I was like, "No, I'm not." But he's like, "Oh, you should look into it. Yeah, I find you can be a healer, or you have the ability." And he became
spooky.
yeah. This is a part of my book as well, where I describe this whole opening, this awakening, journey. And then he said, "Come and do a Reiki session with me. I won't charge you, because I feel you have the ability." So I said, I don't know what he saw in me or anything like that. So I said, okay, this must be a sign. I went ahead and we did this Reiki session, and I felt so calm, so peace, and I found I knew what the message was behind that dream. It was to meditate myself and then teach meditation to others. So completely, everything changed. I was like looking at the positive in everything. I knew nothing was a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. And I find that is my purpose. So from there, I started the whole meditation journey, first for myself and to find myself better. If it works for me, wow, why not share it? And I think that's the best thing you can do for humanity as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great story.
Oh,
That's
it's
so
a
brilliant. Yeah,
yes.
it's absolutely
It's all in
brilliant.
your book, Jules.
Yeah. And tell me about the name of your book, and where can people find it? And I'll put a link to the book in my show notes as well.
Oh,
okay,
thank
so
you.
what's it called?
It's called A Miner Who Wins Inner Peace. So a miner is my story of being, in the mining industry. Because when I tell people, yeah, I work in the mines, I'm a mine controller, I do that. So
Sounds like you're saying mind controller.
Yeah, I know. That's why I just say engineering, because it's a bit tied into that anyway. You're running the game show, logistics, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so people say, wow, that must be really good money. That's the first thing they tell me. And then I'm like, oh yeah, it is good money. But you realize what happens behind that money. Like the people sabotage time away from their families because you're working in isolation. You just
you're out in the boonies. You're away for 3 weeks and only back for one.
Exactly,
and that kind of thing.
Exactly. Like I was one of the lucky ones. I was doing week on, week off, so it was quite good. And I was single as well. I didn't have a family or anything like that. So from talking to people that have actually struggled with their own mental health, being away from their family. So this book is mainly a journey of my past, where I was more in tune with blaming everything, looking at the negative, but also just in it for the money. But it's portrayed through two characters. That's my past, which is Connor, and then the other one is James, who is my present, who's myself in the present. So these two characters meet at the airport really randomly. And then it's all based around this conversation of how they can learn from each other.
So is it fiction, but based on your
based on true
story?
stories? Yes.
Oh, how cool. I'm looking forward to reading it.
Yeah, it's mainly just to shed a light on how you can go through holistic therapy or meditation or even mindfulness and little things here and there like habits that can be a big thing in your life as well to overcome issues with mental health or depression, anxiety as well.
So when you say habits, like give me some examples of little habits that you can change to help your mental health.
Yeah, so when I wake up in the morning, I usually say 3 things I'm really appreciative for. This is
Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
Yes, so the gratitude mantras, or you can call it like affirmations. That's what I say first thing. Then I gargle, pull coconut oil as well.
Well,
Which is
I saw one of your things on Instagram about that. I'm like, quick. Tell me the benefits of gargling. You swallow it or you just gargle it? Okay, you gargle coconut oil because why?
Yeah.
I think I moved to a different one. I didn't watch the whole thing. I'm like, no, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
Let me get back to a meditation.
You scoop a whole spoonful of coconut oil. And if you look at Elle Macpherson, how amazing she looks, she does this every morning as well.
Yeah, she does look amazing. Yeah, she's my age. We're the same age.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Elle and I.
You look amazing too,
thanks. So I was walking you right into that. Yeah, me and Elle, we're like this.
So with this coconut oil, so you just scoop a whole spoonful, gargle it in your mouth, and it gets rid of all your toxins. And this pearly white teeth that I have at the moment is due to the coconut oil. And it just gets rid of toxins, makes you more clear, and alkalizes your body as well in a way. And
I'm going to give it a try. I've got it at home. Lucky you've told me what to do because I probably would have just eaten it.
And then you spit it out.
Because I didn't watch the whole thing.
So you gargle it for about, they say 15 minutes to get the full benefits. And then you just spit it out into not your sink or the toilet bowl, just into a bag and then
throw it away.
In the bin.
Okay, cool. All right, that's a top little tip. What are some other tips for changing your habit?
And then I do...
Not looking at your phone straight away in the morning is a good one, isn't it? I can't break that habit.
Definitely. So not in the morning or like maybe 15 minutes before you go to bed, because it plays with your subconscious mind as well. And then that's where you get disrupted sleep and so forth. So I made a video on this as well, like how to stay away from your phone and spend time with your family, and especially during this time, because it's so easy to be on your phone.
What other tips?
And the other tips are lemon water and apple cider vinegar. So I have that in the morning. And turmeric, yes. So I call it, trying to release it through the Modern Yogi Co, where you can find the book as well and other wellness products too. So including face masks and copper water bottles. So they're another thing that's really good for your health. My mother makes this, I call it the mother's remedy. So it's like mixed with turmeric, ginger powder, and fenugreek, shilajit, this other Ayurvedic product. So very Ayurvedic based herbal, product. And they say if you have that, I know I felt like I've never been sick, like touch wood. I've never been sick, since I've been having that in the mornings. So it's really good for your immune system, especially nowadays where it's really important to have that. So I have a spoonful of that with my lemon water and apple cider vinegar, and that clears all your toxins. It just gives me a good energy kick. I don't have to have coffee as well.
Oh, that's amazing. How cool. Tell me a little bit about your practice. Like when you're working with somebody, do you talk to them? Do you do some sort of healing work? Do you just do meditation? Do you do breath work? Do you do any yoga? Any of that stuff?
Yeah, well, all sorts. So I basically combined, because I'm a certified hypnotherapist as well. So,
are you?
Yeah, I haven't brought my pendulum out.
Oh,
no, it's not.
Oh, good. I want you to help me stop eating.
We can work on that. Yes, we will. I've helped people with their smoking habits, with all sorts of habits. It's all addictions. And I'm studying counseling at the moment as well. So I'm trying to combine hypnotherapy as well as guided meditations and affirmations too. So it's a whole approach depending on what the situation is. Like if it was kids in a school, they were trying to focus more on their studies. So it's like there's certain techniques that you can use. So I lived in India, in Rishikesh for a while, and learned these techniques that sages or monks use to actually try and get the most out of their, not just their brain power, but subconscious self as well. So it's tied into that. And then what you can actually recite, or say, I start a meditation practice with, say, you're looking at something like a candle. So the flame of the candle, you're studying it. And that's how you can build your awareness and your concentration as well. So that's really effective with people who are trying to get the most out of their studies or be really more focused in what they're doing in the present moment. Because I think most of the time we're all either imagining what's going to happen in the future or thinking of the past as well. So what happened before. But the meditation or the mindfulness practice I go with, I call it hypnotized for inner happiness. So
Oh,
that's
I
like,
love it. That's
that's the name for
great.
it. So
That's
it
cool.
incorporates dance as well. So dance meditation
Oh my
and
God,
everything. So
great.
yeah,
Oh,
it's more
how
about,
cool.
yeah.
Oh
So
my
it's
God,
more,
I'm going to come to your sessions at Thrive Health.
you are welcome.
I'm
You are
coming.
welcome.
Right. So, why do you think building awareness and concentration is important for holistic well-being?
Without awareness, without concentration, you wouldn't get the best results in front of you. The top athletes, like say the top actors even, they've got to build their awareness of what's happening right there. They've got to leave behind who they actually are in real life, but also focus on the character that they're playing. So that's one way why awareness or concentration really, really helps. And the top actors or talents in the world, they use transcendental meditation, most of them, to try and get more of their focus or awareness right. So the way you breathe as well, that's a way you can amplify your awareness. And like with the candle technique, that's another way too. There's so many techniques, but I find it's just about being more in control of what's happening in front of you rather than, what's going to happen in the next 15 minutes or
And it can be a really good way to manage anxiety, all of this,
absolutely.
can't it? Or many mental health issues, but
Definitely.
particularly anxiety and probably depression as well. I mean, it worked for you for
Definitely.
depression, didn't it?
Oh, in big ways, in big
Yeah.
ways. And then with anxiety, I had a client that was just really couldn't get any sound sleep and just really anxious. So I said, okay, right. So let's focus on what's happening right now, your senses. Here, have a biscuit. So I brought out these biscuits and I'm like, okay, so taste it. And then she tasted it and she said, wow, okay. And then I'm like, how does it taste? Describe it to me. Tell me about it. So it's just getting that attention onto that biscuit. And it's something to do with your senses. So what you can see around you, what you can feel, what you can taste, it all comes into play on managing your anxiety.
So it's like a grounding technique.
It is.
Oh,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Okay,
It's a grounding
brilliant.
technique that
Oh.
just makes you more aware of what's happening inside you.
So you're shifting your focus as well from the anxious feeling to your other senses.
Yes, you
Right.
are. You are.
Oh,
So it
okay,
doesn't give,
cool.
I guess, power to that anxiety or power to your thoughts to
Mm.
make you anxious because it's all in the mind. I feel like the mind is either your best friend or your biggest enemy. So I find once you can calm your mind, once you have control, I think mindfulness meditation, it's not about having total control over your mind. It's just embracing your thoughts and treating them like clouds. Say if you're in an airplane, you're watching these clouds just float and stuff, but you're not the actual cloud, you're away from the cloud. So you're like an observer. So I find when people are anxious, they think that they are that thought, they think that they are that emotion. So it's coming away from that and being more of an observer.
And I guess people also think when they meditate that they've got to be able to turn their mind off and that it's got to be empty. But that's not the case in meditation, is it necessarily?
Not at all. Not at all. I think that just comes, that's
It's
a
a myth,
byproduct.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, yes. That's a byproduct of practice and perseverance. First, it's just about getting used to your breathing. How are you breathing? When you're very stressed, people forget to breathe. They only breathe up until like maybe it goes to your chest. But the proper way to breathe is through the diaphragm, to expanding your stomach when you're breathing in. And when you're breathing out, your stomach contracts. So it all goes to do with your energy spheres as well within your body. So the chakras, when you breathe, you can either energize your chakras or not touch them at all. So I find that's the more deeper meaning, but I think to the surface, it means the way you're breathing is definitely the way you should start your meditation practice and then come into how your thoughts. So your thoughts, they will always come anyway, but then I feel it's all about, not being your thoughts. So just letting it, embracing it, acknowledging them, and then say, okay, well, I'm going to focus back on my breathing now. And it's just telling yourself and making yourself even stronger in focus.
Can you explain for my listeners out there, what are your chakras and how do they work?
Yeah, so I mean, they're numerous. There are 100 chakras within our body. So these are energy portals, and every cell of your body is connected to these energy portals. So the more commercialized ones now, there are 7 different chakras. So after I started meditating, I noticed my speech was starting to change as well. Like how this knowledge came to me, maybe it's a past life thing or who knows? But to explain to you what chakras are, they're just energy centers around the body. So they're principled for different areas of your life. Like say if you take the heart chakra allows you to forgive, allows you to forgive people, even your enemies. You should forgive them. And even though it's really, really hard, when you forgive them, you allow new energy to come in. You allow new processes or new people to even love you. So it all starts with forgiveness of the past, not just for them, but also for yourself as well. And it allows you to love, allows you to receive love, and it allows you to also focus on your passion. So when you do things with the heart, things just are like magic. They just happen when you don't put too much emphasis on overthinking. That's when you're listening to your heart.
All right. Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, so that's
That's so
a
nice.
quick explanation of heart chakras.
That makes a lot of sense.
And that's what I say in my
and
meditations.
we've got mind and different aspects of the body. So,
Exactly.
And you bring that all into your work as well.
Absolutely,
Oh,
absolutely.
how cool.
So my meditations, they're tailored like 4 different chakras. So to make yourself more balanced and to make yourself even more in depth.
So will you kind of talk to your clients and find out what their goal is from doing the meditation, and then you would think about the best way to work with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So an example I had was a client of mine. He actually was my ex-boss in the mines. And he's like, okay, so what's this whole meditation thing?
Someone big old Aussie bloke. What's all this crap about?
Yeah. So he's like, oh, I've got a marathon to run in like a month's time. Can you show me some techniques? I heard like you can use meditation with your goals. Absolutely. You've come to the right person, and here I am. So, when the student wants to learn, the master up here. So it was like how the table
serendipity. Yeah. Role reversal.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
So he was running a marathon in a month and has never done it before. So we went through the visualizing meditation. So meditation that was more tailored for him to imagine he's already finished the line. He's already ran this marathon. It's assuming that you've already done it for it to happen for you. And that's what I learned to visualizing. Even through Married at First Sight, I imagined the whole horse coming in a wedding, people around me. And,
did you imagine a horse?
Well,
and the horse came, didn't it?
Oh, what the hell? I had a reoccurring dream, actually, like when I was 8, then 16, and then at Married at First Sight, I realized I was on a horse.
Oh my
I was like, wow, I had goosebumps everywhere. But that's a part of visualizing too. It's like talking to your subconscious mind, because 90% of what we're doing is our subconscious, and 10% is our conscious mind, which is language, speech, and daily life. But 90% is so untapped that there's so much potential even as well. It's all about opening yourself to that. So my ex-boss ran this marathon and was very successful. He actually thanked me and said, like, it was your visualizing techniques that you showed me that actually really helped me to come across that, to go across that finish line.
And how do you get like big macho men who think that everything you do is a load of rubbish? How do you convince them that it's got benefits and that it's actually really good for their well-being? Because a lot of men, it's too left of field for them to be able to accept it, because they've got this persona that they've got to portray to the world, and they think that they're soft or whatever. How do you convince people who've got sort of negative attitudes towards it?
Yeah, well, the biggest example, I mean, besides the whole meditation, when people would come up to me and say, oh, I've watched Married at First Sight. If it's a bloke coming to me, he'd normally say, oh, my girlfriend watches it or my wife watches it.
Yeah,
and
I didn't really watch it. Yeah.
I just follow through. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, okay.
Whatever.
And then you realize they're the only ones that watched it. There's no girlfriend, there's no wife.
Yeah, exactly, because that's not macho either to watch Married at First Sight.
Exactly. But coming back to your question, the real test was being in prison, surrounded by 15 men that have come across as macho presence. And
if you can convince a bunch of prisoners, you can convince anyone. So that must give you a lot of confidence once you got them on board.
Big time. I think that if it wasn't for them, I probably even wouldn't carry on, because I'd never taught before. And that was the first time I've actually taught.
How cool
and it was all voluntary as well. So I thought, if I want to start this, I got to start at some extreme, see if it actually works.
That is such a cool philosophy. Go hard or go home.
Exactly. That's the Aussie way, isn't it?
It is, totally.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about your work in treatment centres, because you worked in rehab or treatment, is that right?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
It was more like a residency for drug and alcohol rehab centres. So I had people. So this happened after the prison, and it was this place in Perth where same thing. So 14, 15 people that came into my class. I have 15 max. And then so they all attended. We went through their addiction and what their goals are first, what they want to see themselves as. And most of them were just like, I don't want to be involved in drugs anymore. I want to see myself healthy. I want to see myself spend time with my family, with my kids. So I took them through that. So we visualized, we imagined them going to the beach, just a scenario, spending time with their kids, spending time with themselves, being healthy, running on the beach. But it all comes down to emotion. So emotion is a big one when you're trying to meditate or, get the best out of your visualizing. Because it's just like energy in motion. Everything is energy. It doesn't know what's good or what's bad. It's what you bring into it. So I was filling them up with such good energy, such great vibes. When they left that session, they thought, yeah, they didn't touch drugs. It was like really, really encouraging. They didn't touch drugs. I mean, they recovered really, really well. And the coordinator there was like, what are you doing in there? Like, what are you feeding them? I'm like, oh, nothing. Just feel the presence you want to bring, the purpose is magical. It's something that no book can teach you. It's something that you bring into the place, and it's your emotions that come into play.
Wow, that is unreal. And it just goes to show that using creative visualization, meditation, breathing, and guided meditation, all of that, you can change behaviors, can't you? You can literally change the course of your life through it.
Yeah, you can. So we were doing that program, Hypnotized for Inner Happiness, which
Oh, I
I'll
love
bring
that
to centers
name.
over here in Hong
Yeah.
Kong. I can't wait to. It involves everything like to do with more relaxing, the mindfulness, the dance, and then, getting into the guided chakra meditations.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so interesting. And would you work in prisons or rehab again if you had the opportunity?
Of course, yeah, I
Yeah.
would. I would
Yeah.
go to Mexico and work in the most dirtiest prison. I don't mind. I don't
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
care,
You're up
'cause
for
it's all
adventure as
I
well.
am.
Are you here for a while in Hong Kong, or are you
I
just
am,
passing through?
yes. I
Oh,
will
okay,
be
cool.
back and forth, like depending on the business and so forth. But being online now, it gives you so much flexibility. Like you can do your meditation sessions. I could be in the Bahamas teaching someone in the Himalayas, and
Yeah,
it's like
it's great,
very,
isn't
very.
it?
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
amazing. So
It's actually really created a new way of being for everybody, and
absolutely,
even when COVID's gone,
yeah.
hopefully it's gone,
7th May.
yeah,
Yeah.
maybe a lot of these practices will continue for people,
Yeah, I mean,
schools
I
and
absolutely
everything.
will. Like,
Yeah,
continue
it's good,
online.
isn't it? I like the symbolism that you use in your motivational speeches. I watched some of them on Instagram and they were
Oh,
really
great.
excellent. So, how does symbolism and imagery enhance the meditative technique? I know you talked about creative visualization, but that's a bit
Yes.
different to symbolism, isn't it?
Yes. So symbolism as in like what works.
Oh, I think it was about round the candle, like imagining the
Yes.
flame
Yes.
and using sort of different things
To hone in
to
on.
hone into on thoughts or energy. Like, so I think it's really using symbolism and imagery to make people come into the meditation.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the way I start most of my meditation practices is by focusing or attuning your awareness into the present moment. So seeing that there are different techniques. So the candle, then the other one is say a rose or a flower. Have that in front of you, and then you're studying the flower. You're becoming more in tune with that symbol. But that symbol just represents what's going on inside you, like whether you can actually focus on that flower or are you focusing on something that's going to happen, say, tomorrow or, what happened in the past. So it's all coming back to that symbol or using that symbol to your advantage.
Exactly. I think that might have actually even been. Have you got that on Instagram, the
Yes,
rose?
yes,
Yeah,
yes,
I
I
think
do.
that was
I
it.
do.
There you go. That's where that bloody question came from. Can you define spirituality for me? What's your kind of take on it?
Sure. If spirituality is so vast, there's so many things that come into play when you say spiritual. But when you're spiritual, you know who you are inside. You know your purpose, you know your goals, and you just know different abilities to be conscious one. Like you know everything as one. You're connected to the universe as one. There's no race, there's no color, there's no language barriers. Everything can happen and everything will happen if you believe the power of the law of attraction and so many different things that come into play when you say I'm spiritual. But it just means you're more into like a deep, meaningful purpose in life and you're connected to the universe as a one being.
That's gorgeous. And tell me why we need kindness in the world.
Oh, kindness and love makes the world go around. I feel like if you don't have kindness, especially not just kindness to your next door neighbor, your mother, your father, your pets, but it's kindness to oneself. If you're not kind to yourself, how are you going to be kind to others? And people react when people are angry at you. It's more just a reflection of what they're feeling inside. They're not kind to themselves. They're more disruptive to themselves. So that's what they bring out to the world. But when you find like you've got to celebrate who you are from within, we're all unique. You've got a special talent in podcasts. I've got a talent in meditation. So it's all about celebrating that.
And it's lovely to find your talent and your passion and your tribe, isn't it? It really gives you a sense of belonging and a sense of community. And I think as people, that's something that we also thrive on.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I encourage my students in particular to try and find their passion. What is it that they're really, really into? Because if you can tap into that, then it can really help you build your self-confidence, self-esteem, your connection with others, and just make you feel good. And then the whole thing as well about gratitude, giving back and making a difference and helping others, that can make you feel better about yourself and can help your mental health as well.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
It's a really good practice for gratitude. We take it for granted.
Yeah,
It can really help you feel a whole lot better.
And I have to commend you as well, Jules, like what you said, like being a school teacher. I think it's really important that you get your kids to know what their passion is and follow that as well. Because if you tell, like, say, a monkey to swim, they'll think like, no, they can't swim. So they'll probably think like they're incapable their whole life. But if you tell a monkey to climb a tree, it'll just go there in like 2 seconds. So it's like, wow, what are you suited to? Or what is your gift? And to bring that world.
What makes you angry or sad or happy or wanting to get involved? Like, what is it that motivates you? And if you can identify that, then you're halfway there.
Oh, yes, 100%.
And then if you can bring that into your career somehow, then you're marrying these two things together that can make your life feel so much more fulfilled than if you're a miner stuck out in the middle of nowhere in a job that you hate.
Yeah, and you'd still be laughing to the bank.
Exactly.
You'd still be laughing more in fulfillment.
But that's another thing. It's a good idea to find something where you can make some money so that you can live comfortably and you don't have to stress, because financial stress can be a huge trigger of anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think like if you're stuck in a job or if you're going through something very systematically, you can do that, say, Monday to Friday, but you've got Saturday and Sunday to follow your passions or your goals. So never neglect that and just listen to your heart. Who knows, if you're really good at singing, sing on the weekends, do a podcast, do a TikTok video, whatever you want to do. And then that might reach someone's vision, or that might reach someone's hands, and there'll be the next thing you know, you could be a backup singer for the biggest band in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing I think is really important is paying it forward.
Yes.
Like that's something I'm doing now. I'm having so many people contact me asking me to help them to learn to podcast.
Wow.
And I had a lot of people help me in the beginning, and just a lot of support in many different ways. I mean, I taught myself to podcast, but in many other ways. So now I want to pay it forward, even though I'm really super busy at the moment and don't really have the time.
I know. Yeah.
I'm making the time to pay it forward, and I don't expect any money, and I'm going out to doing community outreach, and like I did a thing with some helpers in Hong Kong, and I taught them how not to get scammed online dating.
Wow.
And also how to podcast.
Yeah.
And that was so rewarding. They were so grateful and engaged.
Yeah.
I did it for nothing on a Sunday.
That is brilliant.
They were just so fantastic. And now I've had them emailing me, messaging me going, I got this guy, he wants my passport and photo. I'm like, no, give them nothing. No. Should I send this money? No.
What I tell you on Sunday.
So I've really made these connections, and it just fills your heart with joy to do that sort of thing. So I want to do more of that.
Wow, bring me along. I'll do the meditation part.
Hey, definitely. I've been here 20 years. I'm so well connected. I could give you lots of different groups, NGOs that work with people and charities that you could work with. So what advice would you give to someone who needs to overcome fear and doubt in their lives?
Mindful in the present moment. Fear is something that we expect something horrible to happen. That's the definition of fear. But when you can expect something great to happen and tailor your mindset to that, that's when possibilities are endless. And that's where I find you've got to have fun with fear as well. Fear is something that hasn't happened yet. It's just a byproduct of overthinking. So if we're thinking like, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, I'm not going to end up doing that, we're going to talk ourselves out of our dreams as well. So it's all about learning to have fun with fear. I had a fear of heights, like funny or not, growing up in Hong Kong. And then I found I went to Macau one time when I was 14, and I thought, I'm going to jump off that bungee tower. I'm going to have fun with my fear. And I think that's the only way I'm going to come across it.
What a good way of looking at it. That's such a good idea.
Yeah, now I can't get enough of views.
And there's no reward without risk.
No,
And so
that's
you've
right.
got to take those risks, and you just don't know what's going to come out of it. Like, I had so much fear around starting this podcast, and now it's just gone from strength to strength to strength. I've met so many incredible people. I've had so many experiences. I've developed so many skills. And if I never did it because of my fears, I wouldn't be where I am today.
Exactly. We wouldn't be here.
No, we wouldn't be here.
That's right.
So it's really uncanny. How important do you think nutrition and exercise are for our well-being? You know, the whole mind, body, gut connection.
Yeah, it's all connected. It's a habit of mine to exercise in the mornings as well. So I find when I'm exercising consistently, my nutrition also changes as well, because it's no use, exercising really, really well, then going to McDonald's for breakfast or, some other place, fast food. But every now and then it's okay. You need balance as well. When I was competing in a pageant, so this is another way I overcame.
What pageant?
Yeah, surprise.
Yeah, sorry, that was one little one in the end. I didn't find that in my research.
So I ended up winning this Mr. Australasia 2016. And it was...
That is brilliant. I love that. Did you have to walk the catwalk, and did you have to do your muscles?
All of that. Had a whole sash. I didn't have a crown, but...
That is absolutely brilliant.
But I was like, this is a way...
I didn't even know that existed.
It's okay.
That is so fantastic.
So I thought, that's a way to overcome my depression. It gave me a goal. So that's where I found I'm going to study nutrition. So I studied nutrition, got myself a diploma in nutritional therapy, and I put it into practice doing this pageant. So it all came in together, the mind, the body, and the nutrition side as well. So it's very important to get yourself into what works for you. Like, say, we're all different body types as well. So nutrition plan for me may not work for the person next to me. So it's like, what suits you or what's your body type, and getting to know that first and then going with what suits. Yeah.
I've got to go back to the pageant.
Great.
So,
out of the bag.
But so what that tells me is that you are obviously so self-confident. You're so not worried about being emasculated. You are comfortable in your sexuality. You are not worried about being judged or bullied, and you are just happy to go and try whatever it is that interests you. And the fact that you did MAFS and the fact that you did the pageant, sorry for laughing, I want to see photos.
Sure.
That just really speaks to the type of person you are, and you're almost like a new age guy.
Yeah, the Modern Yogi.
Yeah, the Modern Yogi. That's how you got the name.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's impressive. Like, I think you're an amazing role model for young men. You really are an incredible role model for young men. And I think that the more you talk about this sort of stuff, from the meditation and what you do and everything in your experiences and the prisons and the mines, and it's so amazing. Like, it's such a weird dichotomy of interests and things that you've done that make you who you are. But it just speaks to other people to follow your passions. Do something outside of the box. Don't worry about what other people think. Don't let other people's judgment stop you from joining that pageant.
Exactly. If you want to do a pageant, just go for it.
Sorry, I can't help laughing. It's brilliant. No, I'm not taking the piss. I'm really not.
I know you're not. I just think
it's great.
a celebration.
Yeah, it's
the last thing you want
awesome.
to do is be on your deathbed and think, I should have done that pageant. I should have just done it. I should have just wore that sash and walked.
My life would have taken a whole different course.
Exactly.
Have you got any other secrets you want to share with us?
No, but I mean, from that, other doors opened as well. So
yeah,
I think
that's the message, isn't it?
Yeah.
That doors can open even when you do the oddest things.
So this year I might, it's in talks at the moment, but could be judging Miss World Australia as well. Like one of the state finals in Melbourne in June, because they were like, oh, you've done pageants and you've got this following on Instagram.
That's
brilliant.
Why not? Oh my God.
Good use.
That might be where you can get married at first sight rather than...
Gotta be professional.
Manifest that. Oh yeah, no, forget that suggestion. You've got to be professional, otherwise they'll never ask you back.
I know.
Affirmations, how important are they and how do they work? Like, you've talked about creative visualization. Is an affirmation the same or is it different?
It's a different process because some people are more visual learners, but some are more attuned with speech, or some are more attuned with words as well. When they're combined, they are so powerful. But of course, you've got to bring it back to your emotion as well. So say like an affirmation, I am healthy. I'm healthy right now. That's powerful. Like it's, I'm healthy is very vast. It's very subjective. Like what's healthy to me may not be healthy to you. Like it could be different things. Like I could imagine myself hiking, or I could imagine myself doing the push-up challenge, whatever it
Yeah,
is.
that's not in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Hiking, maybe, push-ups, no.
Yeah. So it comes down to the individual, what they're imagining. So if I say I am healthy right now, it means that, I picture myself hiking right now. So it's more to do with what works for you and what your suitability is as well. And affirmations just reconfirm that. They bring it into practice and they manifest as well.
Yeah, and they really can work. I get my kids to do them sometimes.
Oh,
I get them to
awesome.
write them out. I've got an affirmation. I've never shared it on this podcast. I'm going to share it now.
Do it, please.
Mine is, warrior am I, and from the battle I emerge triumphant.
Wow.
That's my affirmation. I've been using that since my early 20s.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's maybe a bit too strong. Maybe that's...
Maybe I'm going to walk this pageant today.
Maybe I need something a little softer. But anyway, never mind. But honestly, I've been using that since my early 20s.
Wow. And
so I get kids to come up with their own and make little posters of them and put them by their mirrors and then just say them every morning.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
They'll actually remember this in their adult life as well.
Well, I think most of them don't actually do it.
Well, if they do with a pure heart of devotion, they'll surely remember it in their adult life as well.
I try my best, but they're like, oh, Miss Hannaford, you're such a hippie. Forget it. And finally, I've just got to ask you, do you do yoga as well as a part of your practice, or is that not?
You do. I don't teach yoga.
You don't teach
I'm not qualified to teach yoga, but I do it as part of my practice. I've got several friends that teach yoga, so I just sort of learn or go to their sessions when I can and just share. Because I had a lady last week, Myrna, her name was, and we just shared, like, I taught her meditation while she taught me yoga. So I was like, wow, great. This is a great exchange. And her husband joined as well. So it was really good, really.
And the other thing I wanted to know was, do you do the Tibetan singing bowls in your meditation?
I have. I can use the only time
when I come to your session, could you do that, please?
For sure. Yeah, it's a process that you do.
Yeah, I love them.
But at the moment, I just use them for waking people up. So the dong 3 times, but after the meditation.
I actually recommend.
Yes.
Can I help you improve your practice?
Please. Yeah.
I recommend you putting them on people's bodies, on their chakras, and using them on their bodies. So my yoga teacher does that with us. I do yoga 4 times a week, and she puts the bowls on our chest or our feet or sometimes our
stomach
back
as well. Yeah.
And rings them, and you really feel it resonate through your body, and it really takes you into your meditation even deeper. It's phenomenal. So there's my little hot tip for you.
We're going to combine it all and have a wicked session.
Excellent. It'll be amazing. So Dino, thank you so much for coming to talk to me today. It's been so much fun.
Oh, it's been a lot of fun.
Old friends catching up.
It is. It feels like I've known you for ages.
I know, it's weird. It's weird.
Just come out of TV.
I know. How can my listeners get in touch with you, Dino, if they'd like to have you work with them online or in person in Hong Kong or online anywhere in the world? This is listened to in 120 countries around the world.
Wow, brilliant.
Yeah,
well, I've got my website going, so it's the Modern Yogi Co. So www.themodernyogi.co, and through that you can book me in for like a session which is tailored to yourselves. So it's not very systematic. It's more to do with your situation, whether you're going through depression, anxiety, because I can teach from my experience as well. So it's someone who's been there, someone who's been in the dark period, but has come out with light that he wants to ignite the whole world with. So yeah, please hit me up through that website, or you can hit me up on Instagram, which is Dino_Hira, or we've got the Modern Yogi Co as well.
Awesome. I'll put all of that in my show notes as well. So people, you can go to the show notes to contact Dino.
Awesome.
So it's been so great. And for my listeners out there, if this is something that you've laughed along with us and you've really enjoyed, please can you share it with your friends and family? And could you go to iTunes to rate and review this podcast so that it will help get me up the iTunes charts, and it will help more people find Dino and have their lives miraculously changed, like mine has just been. And I'm now going to ask Dino 4 secret questions, which I'm going to put on my Patreon page. So for as little as $1 a month, you can go over to patreon.com/Hong Kong Confidential, and you can sponsor me, and then you can hear Dino's answers to his 4 secret questions. And you can go back and listen to about the last 30 of my guests and their secret questions as well. So, Dino, we're going to sign off from the podcast now and we're going to head on over to Patreon. Okay?
Sounds good.
Thanks so much. It's been brilliant.
Thank you, Jules, and thank you to everyone that's listening.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Oh, yeah. Love you, my listeners. Namaste. Thank you, my confidants. Hi, confidants. I want to tell you about my Patreon page. I've joined Patreon in the hope of getting sponsorship for my Hong Kong Confidential podcast. Patreon is a great way for my listeners to get on board and sponsor me with monthly payments, and that goes towards my production costs and rewards for my members. If you're interested in checking out my Patreon page, please go to patreon.com and search up Jules Hannaford or Hong Kong Confidential. I would really appreciate you visiting my page. So that brings us to the end of another Hong Kong Confidential podcast. I'm Jules Hannaford. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you'll be with me again next week. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please can you go to iTunes to rate and review it. I would really appreciate your feedback. You can email me at jules@hongkongconfidential.net, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Hong Kong Confidential. If you'd like to hit me up on Twitter, it's at Jules Hannaford. I would love to hear from you.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.